Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sara ala sabilihi ila yawmiddin amma ba'd. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be continuing discussing the book Bulugh al-Maram by Hafidh ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, and we're discussing Kitab al-Miyah, so matters that pertains to al-water and regarding concerning at-Taharah. So we'll read through the hadith and then we'll discuss concerning the hadith regarding the ahkam that relates to this particular hadith. Tafaddal.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Hadith number 12. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, if a fly falls in the drink of one of you, he should fully immerse it and then throw it away, because there is a disease poison in one of its wings and a cure in the other. Reported by Al-Bukhari and Dawood, who added, the fly protects itself with the diseased wing by dipping it first in the drink.
So that's the hadith that is mentioned regarding what we'll be covering today, inshallah ta'ala. So as mentioned concerning the hadith, it mentioned an Abi Hurairah anhu. So this hadith is related by the Sahabi Jalil Abu Hurairah. Then he mentioned قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا وقع الذباب في شراب أحدكم فليغمسه ثم ينزعه فإن في أحد جناحيه داء وفي الآخر شفاء. أخرجه بخاري وأبو داود وزاد يعني أبو داود فإنه يتكي بجناحيه أحد الذي فيه الداء. So that's the hadith that is mentioned regarding concerning this discussion that we'll be having today regarding bab of Taharah or bab al-Miyah. So first thing regarding this hadith, that what had been stated regarding the narrator of the hadith. So as for the narrator of the hadith, with Abu Hurairah anhu, that we had covered or mentioned something regarding the life of Abu Hurairah previously. So as mentioned regarding Abu Hurairah, that is a discussion between the ulama as to what's his actual name. So you have various aqwal between the ulama, as we had mentioned, that of the name that is more of his name that is mentioned by most or by some of the ulama, that his name was Abdul Rahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi. So Abu Hurairah, that of the ulama who takes that his actual name was Abdul Rahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi. And he mentioned the Prophet that the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said regarding إِذَا وَقَعَ الدُّبَابِ, that if a fly, so this hadith discussed concerning a fly, if it was to fall into, mentioned, sharab, if you drink, then it mentioned as to what to be done regarding this particular matter. So next we'll discuss that regarding concerning the takhrij of the hadith. So next is regarding the takhrij of the hadith regarding those of the ulama, those that I mentioned regarding those who have collected this particular hadith. So the author here, he mentioned akhrajahu Bukhari wa Abu Dawood wa Zad. So he mentioned regarding to the hadith that is mentioned by Imam Bukhari in his Sahih, in his Jami' al-Sahih, and also Abu Dawood in his As-Sunan. So can I somewhat cite regarding that he mentioned one at the hadith in the Bukhari. So the ulama mentioned regarding that as for Bukhari, that when he mentioned this particular hadith in his Sahih, that he mentioned in several places. So he mentioned this hadith in several of different books in his Sahih. So he mentioned the hadith, for example, in his book Bada al-Khalq, regarding concerning the creation, concerning the start of the creation. Then also he mentioned the hadith regarding Kitab al-Tib, also in the book of Tib. So he mentioned this hadith in several places based upon as he saw was suitable that for this hadith to be used in different places. So as for the general overall regarding takhrij of the hadith, that when this of those who have done some work on this book, when they mention hadith, they mentioned as for the takhrij of hadith, they mentioned akhrajahu Bukhari, as mentioned by Sheikh Halak. He mentioned akhrajahu Bukhari, also Abu Dawood. Also the hadith can be found in Ibn Majah. Also the hadith can be found in Ahmad in his Musnad. Also the hadith is in the Ad-Darimi. Also Ibn Khuzaymah, Tahawi fi Mushkil al-Athar, and also Tabarani fi Awsat. So al-Awsat. So these are different sources that narrated this hadith. So again, regarding Bukhari, also Abu Dawood are the two primary ones that I mentioned here. Also by way of Kutub as-Sitta, also Ibn Majah, the hadith is found with Ibn Majah in his Sunan. Also Ahmad in his Musnad. Also Ad-Darimi, Ibn Khuzaymah in his Sahih, Tahawi in his book Mushkil al-Athar, and also Tabarani in his Al-Mu'jam al-Awsat. So these are other sources that I mentioned this particular hadith. So the hadith here, the ulama mentioned that the hadith is authentic. This particular hadith is authentic. Then they mention regarding concern the next bit, and with this hadith also, they have mentioned that this particular hadith of Abu Hurairah, that the hadith also have shawahid, meaning other sahabi who have narrated hadith that are similar. So you have other hadith that have been mentioned that are somewhat similar. So of those other other companions, Sahaba, who have narrated a similar hadith, they mention amongst them Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. So you have Abu Hurairah, and this is the narration of Abu Hurairah. Also other Sahabi that narrate this hadith, they have Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Also they have mentioned Anas ibn Malik. Also in some narration of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And others amongst the Sahaba who have narrated this hadith. So you find several companions who have, other than Abu Hurairah, who have narrated this particular hadith. So the second part of the hadith, then also what he mentioned, wa Abu Dawood wazad. So you find also the hadith that with the narration of Abu Dawood, that also you have some additional wordings, Abu Dawood, regarding this particular hadith, that it have additional wording. So that's concerning part of those who have mentioned this hadith. Also, that when the hadith is mentioned by Sheikh Mahir al-Fahl in his takhrij of the hadith, then he mentioned regarding this particular hadith, he mentions that hadith, he mentioned in this hadith number 2 and 3, he mentioned akhrajahu Ahmad. Then also he mentioned Bukhari, Ibn Majah, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, wal Bayhaqi. So he mentioned al-Sheikh Mahir or Dr. Mahir al-Fahl, one of my sheikh from Iraq, that when he mentioned the hadith here, I'll make takrij of the hadith he mentioned, akhrajahu Ahmad, Bukhari, Ibn Majah, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, Bayhaqi, and also that's concerning that narration. Then also when he mentioned a hadith, he mentioned a second hadith of Abu Dawood, that he mentioned that hadith, that Ahmad, Abu Dawood, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, wal Bayhaqi. So it is the ziyada that is mentioned by Abu Dawood, then it is found with Abu Dawood as the source he mentioned. Also Ahmad in his Musnad, also Ibn Khuzaymah in his Sahih, and also Ibn Hibban also in his Sahih, and also Al-Bayhaqi. So this hadith is found there. Those are the sources that I've mentioned this particular hadith. So the hadith here, the ulama mentioned regarding concern that as for what is mentioned by Abu Dawood, that the ulama mentioned isnadu sahih, that the ulama mentioned that it is something which is sahih. So from this, after takhrij, then we'll go to the next matter regarding this hadith, regarding concerning that the general meaning of the hadith. So the general meaning of the hadith, it is somewhat mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, that the hadith had mentioned that if a fly was to fall in your sharab, and some mention ta'am. So you have some of the narration mentioned sharab, and some mention ta'am, and some mention ina. So it mentioned if the fly was to fall into your drink, some narration mentioned ta'am, into your food, and also other narration mentioned ina, that concerning that your drinking vessel. And I mentioned ahadukum falyaghmishu, then a person that he should dip it into the drink. Then I mentioned thumma, take it out, and then give the reason. So concerning the reason why the person take this step regarding if the fly was to fall into your drink or onto your food, then what the procedure should be followed, that a person that he should stick the fly, immerse the fly into that drink or the food, then after then take him out, remove him. فَإِنَّ فِي أَحَدِ جَنَاحَيْهِ دَا, because the reason for this is because in one of the wings of the fly that he has poison. And I mentioned of the akhir, and the other wing that he has the shafa, he has the cure. So that's concerned the reason why we have been given this instruction by the Prophet ﷺ on this matter. So that's concerning this particular hadith. So as for also what is mentioned by Ibn Uthaymeen, when he mentioned this particular hadith, that he mentioned regarding concerning of this benefit of this the hadith, he mentioned that the reason why we have somewhat been told to do that in matter, which regarding that to dip the fly into the drink, because he mentioned لأن الأشياء تداوي بضدها, that you have some things that the cure, it is treated with its opposite. So he mentioned regarding concern that of this we find that as a general qaida regarding in some of them in medical matters, that he mentioned that if the person is very hot, then he is to be treated with something which is cure, which is something which is something which is hot, then also the person is treated with something which is cold. So hot, then the person needs something which is cold. So the person who has a fever where it's very hot, then a person then is treated by making the person cold, or vice versa. Then also it mentioned. Then also I mentioned regarding concern that also example regarding the fly. So the fly with one of his wings, that there's the poison, but also in the other wing is the opposite. So the poison in the opposite wing, then we have the cure. So that's the reason why we have been told to place the fly completely, immerse the fly completely into the into the food. Also from this it shows regarding concerning matter that regarding concern that the mu'jizat of the Prophet ﷺ. So it shows regarding the mu'jizat of the Prophet ﷺ regarding the Prophet ﷺ that having given us the instruction shown that he ﷺ concerned that no matter regarding this of a mu'jizat, which knowing that Him ﷺ during that time, knowing that in the with the fly, one of his wing contain a poison, and in the other wing it has the antidote, it has the cure. So He ﷺ knowing of this, where of that time one would not know of this except by way of wahi, by way of revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet ﷺ, that he would know of something of this nature. So it shows regarding the Prophet ﷺ that is not something that Islam that came from himself, but rather he was being instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for him, a person was not able to read and write, but he was able to know regarding that with the fly, one of the wing contains the poison, and the other wing it contains the cure, the antidote. Also from this that Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned anna dubab maytatuhu tahir, that regarding concern the mate, that as we'll discuss concerning ahkam that relates to the dubab, which is the fly, that's considered to be that it is considered to be tahir, that he mentioned as the relationship regarding concerning with this particular discussion regarding miyah. So what's the relationship between discussing about a fly and also that regarding things that relates to miyah, to water? He mentioned in kanat maytatuhu tahira, that if the fly, that after if he was to die, that is considered to be pure. Kana ma mata fihi min ash-sharab tahir, that if it was to die in anything regarding things of drink, then also that drink is considered to be pure, because the fly is pure, alive or dead, or if it is dead, well, after it has passed away, it's considered to be still, it's considered to be tahir, pure. So also if it was to fall in a drink and to die, then that drink, that liquid considered to be still considered to be pure. So that's the relationship between the fly and also matter that relates to this chapter regarding al-miyah. So as for the matter regarding concerning that, with this matter, the ulama that discuss concerning that, the hadith discuss concerning matter that relates to the fly, dubab. So also they mention regarding concerning that by this concerning you might find other type of creatures that are similar, which is concerning that, so you find these type of, they mention regarding concerning an-nahl, regarding concerning the bee, regarding concerning ba'ud, regarding concerning that the mosquito, regarding concerning and other type of animals. We're concerned they are similar to that, mosquito, namus, farash, butterfly, and the likes, that they are somewhat similar to that of a fly. So also ankabut, also the spider, that they will be similar to that of a fly. Where these animals they mention regarding concern that in general, that as well as that they're considered to be tahir. So in the sense of their mate, if they were to die as animals, these animals, if they die, then they're considered to be mate. They're considered to be meta, but they're considered to be tahir, not something which is impure. So they're considered to be pure, not impure. So that's concerning those animals. So if the animals like this was to fall into your food or your drink, then it would not make that drink impure. It would not make that drink impure. So regarding concerning that, with this particular matter they discuss concerning, with this concerning of those things that is discussed concerning, that from this hadith, but with the Prophet's instruction that I mentioned, hadith, dalilun ala taharat al-dubab, that regarding concerning hadith indicates what can be taken from this hadith is that the fly and things that are similar to the fly, that they consider to be tahir, they consider to be pure. لأنه لا ينجس ما وقع فيه, that they do not make things impure that they fall into. So regarding ta'am wa sharab or ma and the like. So if they were to fall into these things, then those things are not then considered to be impure. So if they fall into food, fall into water, fall into the person's drink, fall into milk, or these type of items, then these things are not considered to be impure, because these creatures are considered to be themselves pure, alive or dead, alive or dead. So that means then la yusidu. So they don't make these things something which is unusable. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, when he instructed that we should yagmishu, that one should place it, immerse it into the drink or into the food, then he showed that it's something which is it is pure. If it was unpure, you would also, and then mention it to be taken out, the fly to be taken out. But as for what remain, is still usable. What remain, it is still usable. So that's concerning the issue regarding concerning that as for the fly, is considered to be tahir, is considered to be pure, and also creatures like this also take the same ruling. Also, the second thing that Islam instructs regarding that, as mentioned, that also he command regarding that the fly to be immersed into the liquid, into the drink, but also to be removed. So to be placed in and then to be removed. So it shows regarding concerning that it is to be removed and not to remain. Is not to be remain. And the reason why it was that we were instructed to immerse it into the water or to that liquid, so as to make that balance regarding that the cure is unknown. The person may not know exactly which wing went in or fell into the drink. So to put everything, his entire body into the drink and then remove it, then this is for the person as to benefit fully, where the cure, the antidote is released into the drink. The antidote is released into the drink. So that's concerning those matters that have been mentioned. They're mentioned as concerning drink. They mention concerning if it is like ta'am and food, then they mention regarding concern the hukum regarding doing of this act of immersing the fly into the drink or the fluid. It is something which is mustahab, not wajib. So, but the ulama mentioned regarding the Prophet Islam, the Prophet Muhammad Islam, in instruction in this matter is something which is by way of irshad, by way of him giving instruction of something which is preferred to be done, not by way of doing so is a must. So it's not by way of wujub, where one must immerse the fly into the water or that thing. Is something which a person, that it is by way of him giving some instruction of what is the preferred thing to be done, not by way of something a must to be done. So by this, the person, if it is something which is har, then a person, if he wishes not to do so, he doesn't have to do so. So the instruction is by way of, they mention irshad by the Prophet Islam, but not by way of intending this to be something a must to be done. So that's concerning that matter. So the hukum regarding immersing the fly or similar creatures into the liquid, it is not something which is a must to be done. So the person chooses not to do so, then that's their choice. If the person chooses to do so, then that's also something which is they allowed to do so. They're allowed to do so. So that's concerning that matter regarding the hukum regarding doing of this. So if the person, the Prophet Islam mentioned in the first regarding if it is water, to immerse the fly inside the water, then remove it where it will be still alive, and then the fly, it will go and fly away. So the Prophet Islam not per se without, and said, and so Islam, when he told us to do so, where it would not bring about the death of the fly, so it will be placed in the water and removed immediately, so it can still remain alive. So they showed concern the Prophet Islam regarding that, showing regarding giving due respect to life, regarding even that of creatures, even that of these creatures and animals. So show the Muslim that know our respect for life and that we try to preserve of life, even that of animals. So in this case regarding place it into the thing, but it will remove immediately where it will still be alive. So it shows concern the rahmah of the Prophet Islam and his mercy and the mercy of the teachings of Islam, where it shows respect for life, whether human life or that of other animals. Also they mentioned by way of qiyas, so by way of qiyas analogy, that other animals that are somewhat similar said la nafs lahu. So animals that they have no nafs lahu sa'ila, animals that have per se blood running in their bodies, that the same ruling would apply to them. So they mentioned regarding that animals that would be similar to that of a fly, then the same, so a mosquito would be that ruling can apply concerning that and other type of creatures of that nature or that type. Also the same ruling applies to them. So you have the lies concerning that ankabut, which so any type of creatures that are similar to that of a fly, then the same ruling would apply to them. Regarding concerning that they're not considered to be najas. They're not considered to be najas. Especially they're not creatures that it's not those creatures that are known to, so that's the rule that applies to those type of creatures. Also discussed concerning that the hadith here, it shows regarding not, as I mentioned, concern that, bayan concern not to bring harm upon the fly. So yes, that and it shows regarding concern that, so with the flies that the person dip them, the reason of this is because in one wing there's the cure, there's the poison, and in the second, in the other side of the other wing, there's the cure, the antidote. So the person dip the entire fly inside of the liquid so as to gain the antidote from the fly. So it shows regarding concern of some of these creatures that some of these creatures are the fly, that also it carries a poison, but also it carries alongside with this the cure. And that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these things have been known, have become known of recent regarding concern the fly, that one side of the body, the wing, it carries a poison, and the other side it carries the antidote. So also from this it shows regarding concerning from this hadith that it shows regarding concerning that the most concerned that also that the person is allowed concerning that using things that will be having antidote for cures for illnesses. So certain type of cures that taking and use of these type of cure is something which is allowed and permissible. That if there's a cure that can be found, then making use of these cures, then it is something that is allowed, as in this case concerned the fly, using the other side of the wing of the fly so as to make use of the cure that is with that fly. Also it shows regarding concerning that with this matter that some of the ulama discuss regarding concerning the fly, which wing has the poison and which wing have the antidote. Of the ulama who mentioned regarding concerning that the poison is on the left side, and others mention that and the cure is on the right side. So of the ulama who take that the poison is on the left side, the left wing, and that the antidote, the cure, is on the right side. That's what some of the ulama have mentioned. Allahu alam about this. But what we know is that one wing carries the poison and the other carries the antidote. So that's concerning what can be taken from this particular hadith. As for the hukum that we'll discuss concerning the hukum regarding ta'am wa sharab alladhi waqa fihi tuwab. So if we have the food or the drink that the fly are falling into it, what's the ruling regarding that food? The ulama have mentioned regarding concerning that, Ibn Mundhir rahimahullah have mentioned regarding concerning قال أوام أهل العلم أن الماء لا يفسد بموت الدباب. So the ulama, the general bulk of the ulama, the mass majority of the ulama, that they take the view that water is not considered to be have gone bad if the dubab, the fly, falls into it and dies in it. That the water is not considered to be have gone bad based upon the fly are falling into it. So that water is still usable. So the water is considered to be still usable, and anything that is similar regarding that creature, such as similar to that of the dubab, then also the same ruling would apply. So the ulama have mentioned regarding that, and that the vast majority of the ulama, that water is still considered to be pure, even if a fly was to die in it. Fly was to die inside of this. Then I mentioned that هذا قول Malik ibn Anas, Ahmed, Ishaq. So the ulama who of that view, and I mentioned some of the ulama, Anas, Malik ibn Anas, Ahmed, Ishaq, Abu Ubaid, Abu Thur, and also others that they narrated an Nakhai, Hassan al-Basri, Ikrama wal-Ata. So you find that majority of the ulama that take the view regarding that food and water that the fly have fallen into it and have died is still considered to be pure. It's still considered to be pure and still usable by way of making tahara and the like. So this shows regarding concerning that if that time or that water is still considered to be pure, then it is something which is usable regarding tahara, which is wudu and the like. So it shows regarding that so that hadith is a relation regarding that flies that die, mosquitoes that die in water, that they are not considered, that water is not considered to be impure, rather is considered to be pure. So that's concerning that. It is stated by Ibn Hazm that Ibn Hazm قال بالنجاسة الميتة ما لا نفس له ثائلة. Ibn Hazm. So it is stated that it is stated that you might find a minority, some of the ulama that have taken a position that water or that food is considered to be najas. Nam, as stated by Ibn Hazm in his book Al-Muhalla. But we mentioned, the correct view is that is taken by the majority of the ulama that water or food that the fly have died in is considered to be still considered to be pure and usable. So that's concerning what can be taken from this particular hadith. What can be taken from this particular hadith. So the hadith shows regarding that one, as a general benefit, that one, that dubab, fly, if it dies in water, that water is still considered to be tahir. Also show that this the fly is not considered to be impure, but rather tahir. Also, water or thing that it dies in, it can be used for tahara and the likes. Also, it shows that Islam show due respect to life, human life, and also even creatures, and even concern this case of the fly, that the Prophet ﷺ dipped it in and then told us to take it out so as it still remain alive and not to keep it inside and to kill it inside the drink, but for it to be removed. So Islam shows concern that a respect for human life and even animal life. So these are things that can be taken from this particular hadith. Also, it shows that with the fly that they carry poison, and also they carry also on their wings also the cure. So if it was to occur that they were to fall into something, a person, it's best for the person to dip them in so as to ensure that both the antidote is taken from the fly, is taken from the fly. So that's concerning this particular matter that is mentioned here in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding this matter, regarding the dubab. So that inshallah ta'ala we'll go to the hadith that comes next, as it will be the final hadith in this chapter regarding Bab al-Miyah. So this will be the final hadith in this chapter regarding Kitab al-Miyah. So I'll read the hadith and also discuss the hadith.
Hadith number 13, narrated Abu Waqid al-Laythi radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whatever portion is cut from an animal, whether it is alive, is dead, meat, reported by Abu Dawood and at-Tirmidhi, who graded it Hassan, good, and this wording is at Tirmidhi's.
So the next hadith that is discussed, that is mentioned here, is regarding the hadith of an Abi Waqid al-Laythi رضي عنه قال النبي عليه السلام ما قطع من البهيمة وهي حية فهو ميت, هو ميتة إلى ميت. And some narration mention ميتة. So they mention أخرجه أبو داود والترمذي وحسنه واللفظ له. So this hadith that is mentioned here has been the final hadith in this chapter regarding Kitab al-Miyah, that is mentioned by Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, that it said concerning the hadith of Abi Waqid or Abi Waqid al-Laythi. So first, let's discuss concerning this narrator. So we discuss concerning the Sahabi, the narrator of this hadith. So after what is mentioned regarding Abu Waqid al-Laythi, so a discussion between the ulama. So this is concerning that he is more famous regarding his kunya. So he's more famous regarding his kunya, which is Abu Waqid al-Laythi. So Abu Waqid al-Laythi, that is kunya. So he's more renowned for his kunya. then there's a discussion regarding a khilaf between the ulama regarding what's his actual name. So as for his actual name, there's a khilaf between the ulama. You have different aqwal that is mentioned. You have different aqwal that is mentioned regarding his name. So of those names that are put forward regarding concerning that, they mention Al-Harith ibn Auf. Al-Harith ibn Auf. Al-Harith ibn Auf. And that's what is mentioned by At-Tirmidhi. So At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah mentioned a hadith that he mentioned that ismuhu, that he mentioned that his name is ismuhu Al-Harith ibn Auf. That is mentioned by At-Tirmidhi. So that's one of the view of the ulama, as stated by At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah. Others have mentioned regarding concern that, that others have mentioned that his name, that it is Al-Harith ibn Malik. Al-Harith ibn Malik. That's the second. And also it is stated of another choice that is mentioned regarding a possible name of Abu Waqil al-Laythi. They mention Auf ibn Harith. Auf ibn al-Harith. So that's concerning those, what is mentioned regarding his possible name. Al-Harith ibn Auf. Auf ibn Harith. Harith ibn Malik. I will mention that Tirmidhi rahimahullah for the choice of Al-Harith ibn Auf. Then also of those who accepted Islam, they mention Aslama Qadim, that he accepted Islam from old. And also that it is discussed concerning Qil, Shahida, that he participated in, that is what is correct, he did participate in the Battle of Badr. As mentioned, Qil, so a discussion regarding did he participate in the Battle of Badr, but they mentioned Shahid al-Badr al-Asah. But some of the ulama, all that he did participate in the Battle of Badr, and also Shahid al-Fath, and also the conquest of Mecca, that also he participated in this, that is considered from the people of Al-Medina, and also that he lived beside Al-Mecca, Jawar bil-Mecca Sana, that he lived close to Mecca for a year. They mentioned Wamata biha, and also that he died in Mecca, Mata in Mecca. And they mentioned regarding concerning As-Sana 68, the 80, and the year 68th year of the Hijrah, the 68th year of the Hijrah that he died. And that they discussed concerning that as for his age, that say have a discussion regarding that he was concerned that he died when he was the age of 85 ala sahih, according to some of the ulama, that he was 85, that he was 85 years when he died, so 85 years old when he died. And some mention 75 years, but they mentioned that ala sahih, that he was 85 years when he died. And that's why his hadith of Abu Waqil al-Laythi, that his hadith can be found in Kutub al-Sittah and others. So his hadith in Kutub al-Sittah, his hadith can be found in Kutub al-Sittah. So that's concerning narrator that is mentioned here. As for the hadith, it is mentioned that the hadith here in the Abu Dawood, so as for takhrij of the hadith in the Abu Dawood, with Tirmidhi, wa Hasan al-Hadith, wa laflahu, so the narration of this hadith, this wording can be found in At-Tirmidhi. The wording can be found in At-Tirmidhi. So as for takhrij of the hadith, that hadith in Abu Dawood, wa hadith in the At-Tirmidhi, there's some discussion regarding concerning that you have others also narrate this hadith. So you have others, so the hadith in the Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, also the hadith can be found in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, the hadith can be found in Ad-Darimi, Abu Ya'la in his Musnad, Ibn Jarud in his book Al-Muntaqa, Al-Hakim in his book Al-Mustadrak, Tabarani in his book Al-Mujam Al-Kabir, Daraqutni wal-Bayhaqi. So the hadith can be found in many places. The hadith can be found in many sources. So you find, for example, Mahir, Sheikh Mahir Al-Fahl, when he mentioned the hadith, he mentioned regarding Isnaduhu Hasan. So this hadith, he mentioned regarding concerning this hadith, he mentioned that there's اختلفوا فيه, that hadith, the discussion regarding hadith. They mentioned أخرجه أحمد, the hadith also in the Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Abu Yala, Ibn Jarud, Tahawi in his book Mushkil, Shar al-Mushkil. So the hadith, Tabarani fil Kabir, Ibn Adi, Darakutni, Al-Hakim, Al-Bayhaqi. So the hadith in many sources that we had mentioned. So the hadith can be found in many sources regarding where this hadith can be found. But there's some discussion regarding the hadith. So you have some discussion regarding the hadith based upon some of the ruwat. So you have some discussion regarding this particular hadith. They mention fihi, you have Abdul Rahman ibn Abdullah ibn Dinar, because of one of the narrators, or often the narrators, Abdul Rahman ibn Abdullah ibn Dinar. So you have some discussion regarding this narrator. Some of the ulama, he says, he's spoken about. So some discussion about this hadith is spoken about. We find some of the ulama have cleared some of in the Duhafa, such as Al-Bayhaqi. Also mentioned concerning that قال ابن معين في حديثه ضعف. Also find Abu Hatim al-Razi mentioned فيه لين يكتب حديثه, his hadith can be recorded, ولا يحتج به, but is not to be used as a primary source. Also find Ibn Adi rahimahullah mentioned بعد ما يرويه, some of what he narrates, meaning concerning that Abdul Rahman ibn Abdullah ibn Dinar, he mentioned بعد ما يرويه منكر لا يتابع عليه. Something that he mentioned is munkar, meaning that it's weak, and there's no, and I mentioned وهو في جملة من يكتب حديثه من الضعفاء, but is of those amongst the duafa that you can still record his hadith. So you have some discussion regarding hadith. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he mentioned صدوق يخطي. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he mentioned his book Taqrib, that he mentioned صدوق, that is صدوق يخطي. So that's concerning. So you have that discussion regarding that particular narrator regarding this particular hadith. So that's concerning this particular hadith. We have some discussion between the ulama regarding its authenticity. So of the ulama that regarding his ruling, that you find that Bukhari rahimahullah mentioned hadith al-mahfuz, Darakutni more inclined toward the hadith, it is mursal. Also you find that At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah or the hadith to be Hasan al-Gharib, la na'rifu hilla min hadith Zayd ibn Aslam. So you have some discussion between the hadith, but some of the ulama who hold the hadith to be Hasan. So we find the ulama that of those who hold the hadith to be Hasan. So where is a Hasan is a degree lower than that of Sahih, but still acceptable. So a level of acceptance regarding authenticity is still authentic or acceptable, but not to the level of Sahih. So as we mentioned before regarding hadith, which you consider hadith that is said to be acceptable, maqbool, they have two levels, Sahih wal Hasan. Sahih, the higher level, and then Hasan, a middle level, where the hadith is still considered to be acceptable, but still acceptable, not to the level of Sahih. So the hadith of this hadith of that level regarding maqbool with some of the ulama. As for what can be taken, so as for what can be taken from the hadith, we discussed concerning the ahkam that can be taken from this particular hadith. So from this hadith that they mention regarding concerning that, as mentioned concerning that, the hadith mentioned ma qutiya min al-bahima, that would have been those limbs that have been cut from the animal. They mentioned bahima are concerning zawat al-arba, those animals that have four legs. So those animals are four-legged animals, such as al-ibl, wal-bakar, wal-ghanam. That would include concerning that camel, also cows, and also sheep and goat, four-legged animals of that types. Mention that these animals, that if their limbs are removed or cut off while they are still alive, then that part of the body is cut off, then it's considered to be maita. It's considered to be something which is maita. Something which is not, is something which is maita, which is of those things that we are not allowed to eat. So it's considered to be a maita, where we're not allowed to eat that piece of part of the body that have been removed from the animals. They're not considered, they're not something that we can eat, because it's said that the animal is considered to be maita. It's considered to be mate. So that's concerning that matter, what the hadith discuss. The hadith discussed concerning that, as mentioned concerning اعتبر العلماء اللفظ هذا حديث قاعدة عظيمة من قواعد الأحكام. So Sheikh they mention here, who's Sheikh Fawzan, Abdullah Fawzan mentioned, اعتبر العلماء, the ulama that they consider the love of this hadith قاعدة عظيمة, a great principles من قواعد الإسلام, من قواعد الأحكام, from the قواعد الأحكام of Islam, where it mentioned يدل على أن ما قتي, where this hadith it indicates that what have been removed or cut off from من البعيمة, from the animal, في حال حياتها, while it is alive, من, from the animal that I mentioned, فهو ميتة محكوم بنجاستها. So what have been removed from the animal, from whatever part of the animal been removed, is considered to be meat. So that part that had been cut from the animal while it's alive. So for example, they were cut off one of his leg of the animal, then that leg that had been removed, or that shoulder of the animal that had been removed, then it's considered to be, while animal then is considered to be meita, considered to be of those things that were not slaughtered or killed properly Islamically. It's not considered to be killed properly Islamically. So it's considered to be one meita, and by this it's considered to be najas. So it is considered to be that limb that have been removed, even though the animal is alive. It's considered to be meita. It's considered to be something of mate, those corpses that we are not allowed to eat, and also it's considered to be, which is by this considered to be najas, considered to be impure. And I mentioned that, the ulama mentioned to them, that yuhrim, so becomes something which is not allowed for us to eat from it. It's not allowed for us to eat from this piece of meat that have been cut off from the animal. So eating from it is not allowed to be done. So as we had mentioned the previous, before, that regarding concern that, of those metas or meta, those things that were being killed, or those from that, we're not allowed to eat of anything which is considered to be meta, with the exception, as we mentioned concerning the exception regarding locusts and also that of samak. So a cow or a sheep or a goat or a camel, if it is considered to be meta, then we're not allowed to eat from it because it was not slaughtered correctly. And also it's considered to be meta if a part of the limb or part of the animal was removed or cut off, then also it is not considered to be something that we can eat also of this. So for example, if an animal even that while, for example, crossing a road, it was hit by a car and one of the legs was ripped off. One of the legs were ripped off from the animal. So the animal is still alive, and it was done while the animal was still in motion, moving, but was hit by a vehicle and that leg was ripped off, then that's not considered to be, that leg is not to be eaten. It's not considered to be halal to be eaten. Or it was the person actually cut the leg off of the animal, then also that's not considered to be something halal for us to eat, as considered to be meat. So that's concerning the main. So they discuss concern that. So that's concerning the discussion regarding that matter. That's a discussion regarding that matter. They discuss concerning al-adl munfasil. So those type of limb that have been removed from the animal while it's alive. So they mentioned regarding concerning that the ruling regarding animal, concerning that if a limb has been removed from that creature and while it is alive. So in the case of stomach, fishes, jarad, locusts, and also adami or a human being, regarding if their limb is removed, the person was to remove a hand or a finger from his body, is that limb, what's the ruling on that limb? Is considered to be najas or not? So regarding concerning, the ulama mentioned regarding concerning that with this, that they mentioned that regarding concerning that ijma, that with human beings, as we discussed before, that is still considered to be something which is tahir, that if a limb is removed from their body, it's still considered to be something which is tahir. And to the degree that if it can be put back onto the human being, then that can be done. So if it can be placed back onto the person who was to lose a finger, and by operation they can also place it back onto the finger, then this can be done, because it's still is considered to be still pure and something that can be benefit and a person can use and can be still used. So it will be placed back onto that person if it was to be removed from a person. As for outside, those three things regarding concerning that the limb that had been removed from an animal outside, we mentioned exception of human beings, with the exception of fishes, or regarding concerning that of locusts, the ulama mentioned that an ijma, those things are considered to be impure. So regarding concerning other creatures, such as the cow, camel, donkeys, and the likes, that those limbs are considered to be impure. They're considered to be maita. They're considered to be maita. So, and now, rahimullah, those I mentioned regarding concerning any animal, such as they mention bakar, or of animals of that type, cows, camels, if one of their limbs have been removed concerning najas bil ijma, it's considered to be najas without consensus amongst the ulama. So with a consensus amongst the ulama, is considered to be najas. And I mentioned because of this, based upon hadith of Waqid al-Laythi, the hadith of Abu Waqid al-Laythi. And they mentioned regarding concern that, and also I mentioned by Tirmidhi rahimahullah, wal amal alayhi inda ahli al-ilm. And this was this is the action. That's the view taken by the ulama. This is the view and what the ulama have acted upon regarding that these limbs, if they're removed from an animal, then they're considered to be maita. They're considered to be najas. Then also they discuss concern that no other thing that are removed from the animal. So an animal, if it was to remove certain things from them while they're alive. So for example, shearing of the animals, sharing of the shar, the hair of the animal, also the suf regarding concern the wool, if it is removed, the fur from the animals, by animals that we eat. So these animals that we eat, but if we were to remove their fur, to remove their hair, to remove regarding concerning wool from these animals, the animal that we eat, I mentioned concerning these things that are considered that have been removed, is considered to be with an ijma that is considered to be tahir. So these things are considered to be tahir with ijma on those matters. So the discussion between the ulama that the next matter regarding that animals that we do not eat, and that do not eat of their meat, animals that we do not eat of their meat. Now concerning that removing these things from them, so removing concerning their hair, removing concerning that their wool, removing concerning the wool and the fur from them, animals that we do not eat of their meat. We do not eat of their meat. Concerning that if those limbs were removed, can we benefit from those things? I mentioned regarding concerning if the limb that has been removed, and they still are, and the fur is on it, the hair is on it, the fur is on it, can we still benefit from those things? The ulama have a khilaf between the ulama on that. So regarding concerning the ulama, that you have a khilaf on that matter. We'll find that some of the ulama that they hold that is considered to be najas. So that leg that have been removed from those animals that we do not eat of their meat, but it have wool, can we make use of that wool? Of the ulama all concerned, no, it is considered to be najas. But you find that some of the ulama who all concerned is considered to be tahir. So the Hanabila, so you find of the ulama who all concerned that it is considered to be pure, and those who hold it to be najas. So regarding concern of those considered the likes of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, that more inclined regarding that, even from these things that we do not eat of their meat, but these things regarding their wool, regarding concern their fur, that is considered to be tahir. Is considered to be tahir. That the view taken by Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah on this particular matter. So as discussion between ulama, those who say no, they are najas, and those who all it is pure. So you have a discussion between the ulama on this. And that's because of that limb has been removed, it's considered to be mate. So whatever is on it also is considered to be najas, considered to be najas. So based upon the order to be najas, everything regarding the limb and everything that's attached. But of the ulama who make an exception regarding this, and amongst them we have Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, who all concerned Tarjih Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, that considered to be the hair, the wool, and the fur, that it is considered to be pure. So that's concerning of those things that are discussed regarding of these ahkam that relates to this matter regarding concerning al-miyah. So we have ended this discussion regarding what is mentioned here. As we mentioned that, so in ending and a summary, that what is mentioned regarding a hadith, that depending on which text that you follow or use, the counting of the hadith may vary. So in this one, we have covered in Kitab al-Miyah, 15 hadiths. So they mentioned the numbering of the amount of hadith that have been mentioned is 15 hadiths. So in the English text, they mentioned how many? The last hadith will be number 13. So they mentioned 13, while in some of the Arabic prints, they mentioned that this is 15 hadith that is mentioned. So so some mentioned 15 hadith. So others mentioned that, like Sheikh Halak also agreed that no, it is considered to be the 15th hadith. So he mentioned that also it is 13 hadith that is mentioned in the first chapter regarding Kitab al-Miyah. He mentioned that he put the numbering of it is 13 hadith. So he said you have a slight difference regarding those who mentioned 13 hadith that have been mentioned so far. Others mention it is 15, depending on the system regarding of how they go about counting some of the hadith. So some hadith that they may differ regarding how it is counted. So with that, inshallah, we have end concerning the first chapter of Kitab Taharah, which is al-Miyah, and inshallah we'll be going to the next chapter that follows this what will be discussed next regarding al-Aniyah, regarding concerning utensils. So that will be the next discussion بإذن الله ta'ala. So that inshallah will end today's session. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.